What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H Podcast Happy Hour Hoops, presented by Train Wreck Sports. A little OG version of Happy Hour Hoops tonight. Just Jake and myself talking all things March Madness, all things NBA. Happy opening day to all the baseball fans out there as well.
Yeah,
Jake,
I got
how
I
we
got
doing
some
though?
Mets Astros on my iPad right here as we're potting. The
Ooh,
the Mets have not scored a run yet in this game, as per tradition, disappointing all fans on opening day. But
Sox
good,
just
great
hit a
time.
3-run shot in the top of the ninth
Who
to
was
take the
it?
lead.
Who was it?
Abreu, Weiler
Okay,
Abreu.
okay. How's my guy Christian Campbell doing today?
His first MLB hit, I believe.
I'd love to hear it. Love to hear it. Little fancy baseball talk at the top of the
Yeah.
basketball pod. That's what we're here for. But it's a great day. I mean, opening day, the Sweet 16, which we'll get into right here at the top, is starting tonight, and we are in one of those strangest. Honestly, Dunny, like I don't know, like it was a weird weekend. But I think
Yeah.
you and I feel like we had a fun weekend of hoops last weekend. But now, how are we feeling? Just before we get into like the overall picture, how's your bracket looking? How are you doing?
I
What place are you in the Trainwreck Sports contest, or if you
I
have one in
believe
there, or any of your contests?
so in my friends from home, I believe it's a 12-man bracket pool. I'm in first in that league. And then
Ooh,
I believe in the train wreck, which has a little over 200 people, I believe. I think I'm 30s in the 30s. I'm gonna check right now, but I believe I'm like 30 or
yeah, I'm
31
trying to
in
get
that.
this, trying to get the
Let's
rankings
see.
up here.
Oh yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
27th place in train wreck.
Oh, there we go. Look at Dunn. You got a shot here. So is your final four still alive?
My
That's
final
the real
four is
question.
still alive.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
yes, St. John's over Michigan State and Duke over Tennessee.
Well, no, so it's not alive.
Oh, I'm
You said
sorry.
St.
Yeah,
John's?
no. Wait, what did I
Wait,
say?
you
What did
said
I
St.
say?
John's? You
Did I
said
say
St.
St. John's?
John's.
Sorry,
Yes.
Florida over
Okay,
MSU,
okay.
Duke over Tennessee. Sorry.
That's awesome.
My
Um,
next point is going to be I had my only hiccup is that I had St. John's going to the Elite Eight, and
mm,
that's really my only hiccup. Otherwise, bracket looks good.
there you go. All
I
right.
fell in love with
I'm
Patino. I was saying it the whole time. It was a vibes thing. I didn't, Steve kept telling me that they're not all that talented. They can't shoot. I didn't care. I was in on the Patino train, and this is where we ended up.
um you weren't the only one. So I don't think you should feel bad about that at all. It happens. It happens to the best of us.
How where are you at? I know our
I'm in
Happy Hour Hoops bracket is probably
113th place,
okay.
and I'm in the 50.1st percentile, which is like, Donnie, it's kind of a crazy thing, and I like it. I'm not mad about this because like there's yin and yang, things are supposed to be in balance in life and everything else. 50.1% there. On the lunchtime locks, my record as of right now is 208, 209, and 1.
Wow.
Carson Gates, love Gatesy over at Crossing Swords there, made a joke in our group chat earlier that said, we're always tailing the leader of the group, or fading the guy who's in last place. But what we're not doing is tailing Jake when he's one game below 500, or fading him when he's one game above 500. And it was mean, but it's true. And this
Yeah.
is how I end up in the brackets too. Football pools for the last 2 years, I've been basically a 500 picker. That's what I do. I pick some wins, I pick some losses, but my
Yeah.
final four is all alive. I have Duke versus Tennessee on the right side of the bracket, and I have Michigan State and Florida on the
Okay. Yeah.
left
Same
side.
here.
So, yeah, we're in the same boat there. And then I have Duke over Michigan State in the championship game. So,
Okay.
still alive, still feeling decent. But I don't think I can make up the ground with the Duke national champion at this point. But I could still have a respectable finish. It really depends
Yeah.
on this Sweet 16 Elite Eight weekend, what it is. And I feel like that's a lot of the situation when we're talking about the story of the first weekend, is that Not a lot of upsets. The only double-digit seed that makes it through is John Calipari in Arkansas, who's like one of the
Coach Cal.
budgets in the nation. So there's it's and I haven't heard it compared to this until Bill Simmons. I listened to Bill Simmons today, and anybody brought this thought up. It's like the women's tournament now. It's literally just how we've looked at this women's tournament for its existence, where the last 2 years it's just been really hard for one of those big upsets to happen. And even if it
Mhm.
does happen, that team gets dispatched in the second round pretty easily, and you get the teams that are supposed to be there in the later rounds of this tournament. And so, Dunny, I want to ask you, because like you have it in here, he's like in a specific question, and I'll let you get to that part of it. But for me, just about enjoying like what we're watching the sport of college basketball for. A lot of casual fans, yes, are watching for the madness, right? Like you hear March
Mhm.
Madness and you want the chaos, you want the stuff. But then it's like we're also, the point of the madness is to decide a national champion. And
Correct.
don't we want the best players and best teams playing every year in college football? We literally painstakingly discuss the very top teams all year long. We don't even talk about any other teams, bro. You don't. No one cares about the 8-4 SEC team in college football. All we care about is the top 14 teams and who's getting into the playoff, who's getting in, whatever. Because we want to decide how many times who's the best team on the field. How many times has Nick Saban were on there and said, "I don't care if we're 9-3, we're the best team," like all that stuff. So that's college football, and that's how they exist. College basketball's existence is like we'd rather have the team that like no one will remember any players on. We'll have like a vague memory of like, oh, and I'm not saying this is not the right thing. I'm just saying like it's literally the exact opposite like
Right.
mindset for the football tournament, which is like the stakes are, these are the best teams, man on one breaking it down. And in college basketball, we're like, whoo, just throw it all up in the air. Who knows how this is going to end up with the Final Four? Do you find the best team in the last 30 years? Not as often. And I feel like now with the way the sport is breaking down, we're going to get the best team more often in the tournament. And maybe we just need to adjust our expectations for what this tournament is. And I think that's kind of why they want to expand it, honestly, because they know that they're not going to get as much madness in these rounds with these top tier teams. They know that the power four is going to be so far ahead of everybody else that they're going to lose that middle class. They need to add teams so that there's some more chaos at the beginning where we have all these bubble teams trying to get in. Like I really think like it's thinking ahead, because this is the reality of the NIL era. That's just my opinion of it. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think we just need to shift our perspective to let's find out who the best team in college basketball is. And that sounds pretty exciting to me, honestly.
Yeah, and at the very beginning of when you just first started talking there, like you said, the best players and the best teams, and I think that's just what we're getting this year. Like we've had years, even the most recent years, like we haven't had that much great American talent coming out of the college basketball scene and then going to the NBA. Like a lot of the most recent NBA drafts, there's been a lot of European guys at the top. Last year and the year before that being prime examples of that. This year, I think we have a lot of really good talent in college basketball, and I think it's showing. And it's teams that have basketball history or blue bloods or all come from the same conference. But I think this year the biggest thing to me is why we're seeing all these high seeds sticking around in the tournament. I just think we have really, really good players in this year's tournament. And so what if you don't have a 14 seed advancing to this weekend? Like I'd rather watch the super talented guys go at it. And I think that's what we have here. That's what we have for the next few rounds, and that's what we're gonna have for the remainder of the tournament. So sure, Yale didn't advance to the Sweet 16 this year, or you don't have this crazy team that no one's ever heard of, or this player that no one's ever heard of until this tournament starts. Yeah, we don't have that this year, but we have a lot of really talented basketball players on a lot of really good teams who are about to go up against each other, and I think that's just as fun. Like I'm just a basketball fan. I'm a college and NBA basketball fan. I'm not all in this for the madness. Like I'm in it for good college basketball, and I think that's what the tournament's given us this year. And I just don't think it's like this is one year we've seen this. Like last year we had upsets, so I don't really get why everyone's kind of jumping on the NIL thing and the transfer portal. It's like give it time. I was honestly a little bummed out when I went to listen to my regular sports programs that I listened to once we had this lull and had to wait for games to start back up tonight. And everyone was just kind of shitting on college basketball and saying this is the NIL's fault. Like I enjoyed watching the games. I agree there wasn't madness. Like that's just a fact. But I didn't think the games were piss poor or anything like that. Like I enjoyed watching.
I agree. I thought it was good basketball. I mean, there were close games,
Yeah.
games that came down to the wire. We got a buzzer beater. Um,
Colorado
like
State was 2 seconds away from advancing and upsetting.
exactly. It's a lot of exactly. People just want to see like the lower number on the screen go forward, and they want to see the highlight on Twitter of the buzzer beater and the people going crazy and everything. And it's not as fun when Arizona does that or Maryland does that or whatever brand school gets through a close game. You know, it's not going to elicit the same feeling as Florida Gulf Coast. It isn't. I'm not going to say that, but it is like you said, it was still. I thought it was a good weekend of basketball. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was high level. There's some great teams, and they're all still left in this tournament. Like they're all playing tonight and tomorrow. We've got. So I'm not. I think there's no issue right now, and I think that maybe if there's a little shine off opening weekend now, all the shine goes to, like the Final Four is going to be awesome no matter what, and it always is. But Sweet 16, Elite 8 is like shaping up to be some of the best basketball we've seen in college basketball in years. Like these games are all high level matchups starting tonight in about 20 minutes to tip off BYU, Alabama in Newark. Later tonight, Maryland and Florida. Both those games are, I mean, those games are awesome. Those could be Elite 8 Final Four matchups, and you wouldn't have been surprised this year. Arizona, Duke late tonight in Newark as well. Like that's what a storied, historic blue blood matchup facing each other in the Sweet 16. Caleb Love back again, former Tar Heel playing against Duke. You got Cooper Flat. Like what more could you want there? And then late night, you got Coach Cal, Arkansas and Texas Tech, a legit rivalry between two teams. Like those teams literally play in football, play in Jerry World every year, neutral site game. Like these two teams have hated each other for a long time, and they're playing in the Sweet 16 of the tournament. And yeah, fan bases are on each other out in San Francisco at Chase Center. So it's awesome. Thursday night at Hoops. Friday night we get Ole Miss and Michigan State to open the slate in Atlanta there. Kentucky, Tennessee, which has had a couple great games already this year. Michigan, Auburn, Purdue, Houston. Like those are all those games. Those could have been the national championship Final Four games this year, and I wouldn't have been surprised. And it's also, because obviously the seeds and everything else, like obviously that makes sense, but like we're getting 8 of those games. We're getting 8 Final Four level matchups on a normal, year where there's madness and everything else that we're talking about on a Thursday and Friday night in March here. That's something to be excited about, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And one thing here is like, yeah, sure. I think fans are a little bit upset about how this happened, and because some of the underdogs or the sexy picks didn't work out for them. But like, can you imagine the committee or any of the networks being upset about this? Like they're probably over the moon.
It was the most watched tournament. The ratings were like up tenfold for the last weekend of the tournament.
Yeah, and that was last weekend, and we keep talking about how good this weekend's going to be. So I don't know. I think it's just fans and people being bitter and judging a little bit too early. Like, just enjoy what we have here. We have some great matchups, like we keep saying. And I think it's funny too, because when you were going through the matchups, like Michigan stood out to me. I think people might just be upset too because they just had it wrong in their brackets this year. Like everyone, or not everyone, but a lot of people were thinking Michigan was going to lose that first game. All of a sudden, here they are in the Sweet 16. Like maybe just people are mad for having it wrong.
I know, and
And
people picking upsets too, and they're like, everybody's like, who's the big upset pick? Who can I put in the bracket that would be fun to
right.
get right? And there were none. Like, you didn't get one. You didn't get a fun upset pick.
I also feel like people kind of tried to warn everyone too, or being like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily chalky this year. It's just the bracket is top heavy. These guys have elite level players. Like you can go down these teams and talk about like a legit stud player. Some teams, multiple stud players that these teams have, like legit
Mm-hmm.
NBA prospects on most of, if not all of these teams. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's awesome, man. I'm super excited for this weekend and tonight.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a blast. Anything else on March Madness you want to touch on, Dunny?
Just the quote of the week is going to be coming from March Madness here, Jake. It's Derek Queen of the Terps for Maryland. When asked, it was actually his coach who said this, but I'm pulling the quote from the huddle. We don't have any audio of this, but Maryland's coach was asked, kind of what happened there when they called the timeout before they drew up the last shot, and he said that Derek Queen in the huddle said, "Give me the motherfucking ball." And everyone knows what happens next. He went out there. He didn't travel. People need to chill with that. We're not calling a travel to end the game on a buzzer beater and reverse it. No, we're not doing that.
I
All
don't know,
right.
why do people
He,
like that's the crazy thing is, why are you asking for a travel on a buzzer beater? Who are you
yeah.
people?
Colorado
What is
State, fine.
this?
Anyone else, if you're asking for
Yeah,
that, like
exactly.
you're not a fan of
And if
basketball.
you bet on Colorado State, I guess.
Yes. So that grouping of people, you can be upset about it. It was a great move by Derek Queen. Even better quote in my opinion. Super. I believe he's a freshman, like young dude, just nails. Wanted the rock. Coach gave him the rock, and he made the play.
Awesome.
So, quote of the week coming from Derek Queen from Maryland. And we'll see if they can do it tonight. Big test. That's what sucks for me. That's why I'm torn up most about the matchups here this weekend. Is I really am falling in love with this Maryland team, but I need Florida to win the whole damn thing. So
Mm,
I can't root for them tonight, but it should be a great game regardless.
that is going to be a really fun game. I I really don't know what to expect tonight, man. Like I was looking at some bets today, like what I was gonna what I want to do. I did in Duke -9.5 because I do think there is the chance that Duke is just like worlds better than this Arizona team and wins by
Yeah.
like 17 pretty easily. But even that, like I don't feel good about. Bama, you can't feel good about 4.5 point favorites. Florida, I'd feel good about winning, but they're 6.5 point favorites. Like I think Maryland's defense is great. I don't know if they're going to be
Yeah,
able
it's gonna be tighter than that, I
to
think.
blow them out. You know exactly. And then Texas Tech -5.5 feels like that game could go anyway. You can't doubt Cal at this point and what that team is only a 10 seed because they went 0-5 in SEC play to start, as I've heard a million times from every talking head. So I'll be another one that says it. But we all knew how much talent they had coming in. What kind of she is like. I don't see them as an underdog in any of these games going forward. Honestly, like really, I feel like they can play with all these teams, and they've done it all year.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? When they beat Kansas, I was like, oh, I might have had this bracket all wrong, and they could easily beat St. John's when they play, and that's exactly what happened. So, yeah, great matchups tonight. Great matchups for the rest of the weekend here. So, stay locked in. Obviously, we're gonna shift our focus to NBA right now. News and notes. It's how we always start the NBA talk. Um, get some of the bad stuff out of the way first. It's more just interesting to see what happens to this team. But Damian Lillard has a blood clot in his calf and is out indefinitely for the Bucks. So just one of the freak things. It's the reason that Wemby's sidelined for the season. Obviously, different area of the body there, very different players, but both with these blood clot, weird freak things that hope you just hope and pray that this person's going to be okay. The person, and then obviously the basketball part of it too is Dame Lillard's on the sideline. The Bucks are battling for a spot. Well, not battling for a spot, but they were trying to move up in the standings here. Probably not going to happen now. They're probably locked in where they're at this moment, but they're already without Bobby Portis, who's suspended until the playoffs. And Jake, we were texting about it in the group chat when the Dame news came out, but like we have no idea what this means for Milwaukee and Dame Lillard, and it could be Giannis kind of fighting solo in the playoffs in the first round, and maybe the entire playoffs if they advance.
Yeah, tough situation for Lillard for sure. It's weird that this has happened. I know it's body everything else, like just weird that this kind of thing has happened twice in the last couple of months. And when we saw it with Ingram, I think I don't know if it was last year, a couple years ago, whenever it happened. But yeah, hopefully speedy recovery to Dame. Who knows with the Bucks? The Bucks situation is something to watch all summer. I think we already were thinking that whether Dame was healthy or not, with some of the talk that Giannis has had during this season, and now with Dame out, I mean, it's just asking Giannis to do so much in the East. Where, I mean, they're even getting out of the first round is going to be tough for the Bucks if they have to face. Right now, I'm believe they would still be. Yeah, they're the 6. Yeah, I was going to say they drop down to the 6 and would have to play the Knicks, and they probably don't win that series. And then even if they get ahead of Detroit and have to play Indiana, I don't think that they would be favored in that series either. So, and then getting by, either if they would get by, New York or Indiana, I think they're getting washed by Cleveland or Boston. So, it's a tough look, because then what does Giannis look at the situation and be like, what am I looking at here? Dame is an older guard. Now this is a serious issue. Not saying that that's a reason to like jet up and leave, but everything is going to factor into Giannis's decision. And I'm not saying there is a decision to make, but the tea leaves do seem like showing that the time is ticking for Giannis and the Bucks and their window to be a true contender. And they keep sliding in the East. Dame's not getting any younger. He's not getting any healthier. They have no real avenues to add players like anymore. Kuzma is like the biggest swing they could take. It's tough. It's a tough spot for the Bucks. So I feel for the fans. You got a ring out of it though, so you can't be too upset. But they are kind of upset still. With a guy like that, you expect more than they haven't even really been like. I guess late 2010s. That's not fair. They're like tippy top contenders each of those years, but you would think that they should have had a couple years of dominating. And the Celtics kind of came in and took their block, and they never like came back to it. So credit to you guys for that, because you just kind of like they never recovered, and
their spot and their point
turn,
guard, bro.
That's really what turned it. I mean, if we want to point to the turning point, it's them allowing Drew Holiday to have an avenue to go to Boston. And like, not thinking
I'm sure
how
they
much
weren't
that would
thinking that
them
at the time, but the fact that he ended up in conference, like, to probably your biggest threat, like, it's just it's
never
tough.
should have traded him in the first place, man.
It's an interesting point with Milwaukee and Giannis this summer, because if this Dame thing, the blood clot, does bother him until the offseason, and ultimately that's kind of the reason they get bounced, is because of the Dame injury. Like, that looks a little insensitive if you're Giannis, because Dame was injured. It's not like you guys just flamed out and you were on your own because the team didn't do enough to put around you, which I still think he has an argument for, and there's still other things to be upset about. It might just be a more difficult look for Giannis if this is the case and Dame's out, and then he's still asked to get out of this situation, because then obviously they're just completely screwed at that point, it would seem. So we'll see. I mean, could they still win a first round series with the Knicks? I think so. Without Dame, those odds are very, very low, just because I don't think they match up well as it is. And then, no Dame, that's tough. Positive injury news: Anthony Davis returned earlier this week for the Mavericks, and Kyrie Irving's surgery was a success. AD was on a pitch count, so I think he was on a 24-minute restriction. He looked okay. Definitely a little slow. I watched the first half of that game. They ended up winning that game, and then I believe he sat the next game. But currently, the Mavericks are the 11 seed, tied with the Suns for the 10 seed, and a half game back for the Kings, 9 seed. I think we did a little Mavs check in last week, but what do you think about this Mavs team if AD? We have around, like, depending on who the team is, 9 to like 12 games left in the season. Mavericks could get a play-in spot.
Yeah.
AD, Clay, and company. Any chance they make it out of even the play-in? Where are you at with them in the play-in? You think they
Did
lose?
that just sound super weird to you when you said that, like for yourself? AD, Clay and company, the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, no,
Because
it's still
that like
extremely weird. Yeah,
Dunny, think of where we were last on March 27th, 2024, talking about the Dallas Mavericks, and you just said AD, Clay and company.
yeah.
I mean,
Hopefully, no Mavs
um,
fans are listening.
I'm sorry, but it just really like I wasn't looking at you. I was looking at something, looking up, and it just really like struck me like to my core hearing that and thinking Dallas Mavericks and felt like something I don't know, just very strange. Anyways, I think the top 8 in the West are the top 8 that are there right now. I think it's Minnesota and Golden State who end up winning those play-in spots. They're just those two teams are way better than Sacramento or Phoenix or Dallas, even with 8 healthy. That would be my bet.
Yeah, no, I think you're
This is
right.
the year I told you guys a couple weeks. Sorry to interrupt you. I told you guys a couple weeks ago that I think this is a year where we don't need to play in. This is a year where we need to
Yes,
implement
you
the
did
you
say
need to be
that.
500 play-in rule or something because we don't need these 9-10 seeds in both conferences do not deserve to be in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I think a little. Yeah, it's weird because it's almost opposite. Like, I think that's true for all 4 teams involved, right? And it's almost like flipped in the East and West because the East, they just don't have good rosters, and they are kind of middling teams to below average teams, and that shows with their roster, right? Obviously, Heat moved on from Jimmy. Bam's been struggling this year. The Bulls are what the Bulls are. They traded Levine, and they just have some guys they're trying to kind of grow as players. And then, but in the West, like 9-10 Kings, yeah, sure they moved on from Fox, but they have Levine, DeMar DeRozan, Sabonis, and the Suns and Mavericks, loaded with talent. Injuries there for the Mavs, so it's just a weird grouping. But I think you're right. I think as the standings are constructed now is probably what the playoffs will look like. So there is that. What else do we have in the news? Steph Curry, speaking of the Warriors for a second there, he's working his way back from a pelvic bruise, which he avoided more serious injury. I think he had to get MRI on his hip here. So good news for that. He's still working his way back. And in that, the Warriors have cooled off a little bit since Jimmy first came on the scene. They actually played the Miami Heat this last week. He returned to Miami, and I don't know how much of this you caught. I didn't really catch much of the game. I was excited, and then kind of ended up being a boring game after tuning in. But everything that happened leading into the game and after the game was very, very strange. I don't know how much of it you saw, but all interesting stuff from Jimmy, Tyler
I
Hero, Pat Riley.
I Dunny, I saw nothing. So everything you tell
Okay.
me is fresh, and I can give you the freshest perspective possible.
Okay. So basically, like, they obviously people are asking about relationships and all that, and
Yes,
the Warriors got beat pretty bad, even
they
without
did. They did
Steph.
get
Like,
cooked, bro.
yeah,
It was
even
bad.
without Steph, like, you should be putting up a bigger fight. You think Jimmy would be a little more motivated. Went to Miami, didn't have a good game. Tyler Hero and Jimmy, who I always thought were fairly close, they asked Tyler Hero after the game, like, if he had spoken or is going to speak to Jimmy, and he almost like cut the reporter off to be like, no, 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 and just said no a bunch of times with his sunglasses on, and really had no interest in the question. Before the
That is
game, I
weird.
believe they asked Jimmy if him and Pat Riley, or if he had any words for Pat Riley or something along those lines. And he was like, I have nothing to say to Pat Riley, and Pat Riley better have nothing to say to me. So obviously, just still super bad blood here. But it ended up being Jimmy going home with the L, and the Warriors losing. Obviously, I think the Warriors are in a much better place here. but just very, very strange stuff. I mean, I guess you could expect the pettiness, but I kind of thought we were over all this once the trade went through. It's just like, okay, we can stop with the Heat drama. But here we are, and I honestly think the Heat are in a pretty weird spot moving forward. Talk about the Bucks with some decisions to make this offseason. I think the Heat might be in that same boat.
The Heat, yeah, I mean, it's just such a weird, like, I love Bam. I love Bam
Me
as a
too.
player. And I was wrong about Tyler Hero. He's a better player than I would have given him credit for. He's turned into a better player. But like those two guys are like at really, if I'm being honest, and this is no shade, like at best, like third best guys on title teams, right? Like Bam is just
Mhm.
too undersized and not good enough offensively to be a lead guy. I love Bam. He's awesome, but he's better served in like a supersized role player, third guy, maybe second guy some nights. But we saw him as a second guy. Like it limits you a lot. You need to have guys that can bomb threes outside, like and hit them at an insane clip. That's how Miami gets to the finals all those years. And Hero is like an awesome guard in a league of awesome guards. And he's like, he
Mhm.
doesn't really, he's great, but he doesn't stand out ahead of the pack or anything. So they've invested a lot into those guys. And it's really hard to find a number one star to bring in with those guys. Like usually you have to bring in like a number two star to your homegrown number one. When you got
Mhm.
two homegrown number threes slash twos, you know, 2.5s that you've paid like ones, you get put into a tough spot. So, you know, like there's the Durant rumors about for basically every team. There's Durant rumors about your team going
Yeah,
around. So everybody's getting the Durant
it's
rumors right
crazy.
now. But I don't think that fixes any. Like if Durant goes to Miami, they'd feel like they're just Phoenix again to me. Like what?
Yeah,
Like it's not saying they're the same team, but it feels like a similar build where it's like,
yeah. All of a
you
sudden,
know, and
Bradley Beal walks through the door.
Brad's like, I'll come to Miami now.
Yeah,
That sounds nice.
lift my no
You
trade clause. Send me to Miami.
You know what I mean though? Like it's
I
like
do.
you're
Yeah.
trading out Booker for Bam. Like it's not like that team's not going further because of adding Durant. No shade to Durant. This is where he's at in his career at this point. So yeah, Miami's in a weird spot. And but Jimmy's also like the thing is Jimmy's not right either. Jimmy has
No,
flamed his way out of literally every single place he's been to. So yeah, Jimmy's the asshole probably in this.
I
They're probably
still
both
think
assholes.
Jimmy's more wrong in this situation than Miami.
Then
Obviously, I
Ben
don't know what
Riley? Yeah, I
happened
think so.
behind the scenes, but as far as everything that's out in the open, I tend to take the Heat side, and at least I'll say this: at least the Heat players who are still on the team side. Whatever, Pat Riley, people have come out and said that he's not the best dude. A little unorthodox, maybe a little too old school for today's NBA. But as far as the Heat organization, fans, and other players, which is crazy, I'm even saying this, but I think I'm taking their side over Jimmy Butler in this situation. Still,
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough look. And you know what else was tough? A tough look. That game last night. One of those teams got to wear their normal jerseys. It looked like a future basketball game that I didn't like. And I know it's 2025 and we are kind of in future basketball at this point, but it was really off-putting when I turned on the Max app to watch the game, and it was and I love the Vice jerseys, but paired with the Warriors and like the futuristic throwback blue red gold thing they got going on with those jerseys. It really threw me off, and I didn't like that. Another piece of news about the Golden State Warriors, though. Did you see that Stephen Curry and Michelle Obama announced a sports hydration drink today named Plezzy?
whoa, I didn't see that.
Huge news, right? Sports
Still,
hydration drink that is supposed to be it's supposed to be a response, obviously, to like Body Armor and Gatorade and stuff, but has a daily dose of vitamin C and no artificial or added sugar.
wow,
Yeah, a
I
lot
could
of
see that
juices.
doing
I
well.
was reading the nutritional fact. They got pear juice, apple juice in there, so a lot of juices. Sounds pretty good. I kind of want to order it. I looked on Amazon. You can order it on Amazon. So when it's ready, I'm gonna order me some Plezzy and I'll do a taste test on Happy Hour Hoops
That's what it's
for
called, Plezzy.
Plezzy, yeah, Plezi, and it's in the article I was just reading, it says it's like a Creole word for, I can't remember. I'm gonna look it up quick though.
That's
like
cool.
health or something like that.
Steph is on a fast track to be a billionaire. I
Fun,
feel like.
Plezzy, which means fun in Creole. There we go.
Cool.
So Plezzy is
I,
actually apparently Plezzy is a Obama Foundation creation of one of their things, and Steph got involved here. But apparently, Steph has been involved with literally every step of the process: taste testing, branding, bottling, like flavors, the whole 9 yards. This is the whole Steph Curry production, pretty much. Interesting times.
Yeah, it's hard to hate Steph, man. He does a lot of cool shit on and off the court.
And bro,
I
if
was
that is actually true and it's like a healthier Gatorade, like I'm all about, like I will invest in it. I'll buy that. Like I'll
yeah
give me some stuff. I love Gatorade. It still tastes good, but now I'm too old. I know like how much sugar and stuff is in it.
yeah
Like I know it's not helping me or anything. So
yeah. You're not running it off at practice anymore. But yeah, dude, Steph, I had just said it briefly, but Steph, I really feel like is on a fast track to become a billionaire. Like he has the position he just
yeah,
took at Davidson, where he's kind of getting
the
involved in
GM role, yeah.
their basketball management. Obviously, launching this drink with Michelle Obama, all the Under Armour stuff, all the golf stuff that he does too. So shout out
And
Steph, man.
however many number of tech investments he's got, like
Oh
living in
yeah,
San Francisco and being like the guy in the Bay, like yeah, Steph's chilling, man.
he's doing all right. Um, Continuing with with news here, Lakers convert Jordan Goodwin to a standard 2-year NBA contract and waive Cam Reddish. This was a little interesting to me because I mean Goodwin's been playing great for the Lakers. I guess it's not all that surprising, but just for me personally, I think this is the time where I have to surrender, wave the white flag, and just give up on Cam Reddish being a good NBA player because too many teams it just hasn't worked out for him, and he's gotten waived by yet another team. This is a guy who played alongside RJ Barrett and Zion at Duke, and I really thought he was legit too, but maybe he was just lifted playing alongside those guys. So hand up, I had it wrong with Cam Reddish, and this might be the beginning of the end for Cam. But good for Jordan Goodwin.
There was a really mean NBA Central tweet that was like latest odds on Cam Reddish's next team, and it was just all Chinese basketball teams.
The Shanghai Sharks minus
Yeah, they were up
500.
there. Beijing, I think, was minus 150 or something. So they're looking at him heavy, I guess. But yeah, tough for Cam.
Tough for Cam. Lakers, Jordan Goodwin's been hitting threes. He played a lot last night for the Lakers when they won on a LeBron putback, which we will get to momentarily. Quick here to round out the news. Adam Silver announces NBA is exploring a European league. So crazy. Just lots of changes, I feel like, around the league that we love, which aren't necessarily always bad, but this is an interesting one. Not really much more information, or at least I didn't read up on this today. I
So
just saw the headline, but Jake, what do you know about this?
yeah, so I mean, this has been an idea that it's been floating around, and the idea is basically it's not like they're going to like create all these new teams, or it's not like they're going to be like an expansion into Europe and like all these new teams and all these franchises. They're trying to take over FIBA and what FIBA is doing. So FIBA has their Champions League of all like the the Real Madrids of the world and any European team in any of those leagues that you can think of are in those Champions League. They essentially want to take that over and run it. And a lot of the teams are ready to work with the NBA on this. So they have a lot of interest from the overseas teams, not necessarily all of them. And it's going to be a tricky process to kind of disentangle the FIBA machinations between all this and everything. But working with the NBA has a great benefit to all these teams if the NBA is really serious about doing something. And I think what I would do if I were what I would think that they're looking at here, they love that in-season tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a lot of sense that the in-season tournament, if you want to make it actually fun and actually matter, if you make it between your NBA Europe and your NBA teams, And I don't know, like it's just that, and it would probably just be something completely besides, outside of the realm of, this isn't going to matter in the regular season. But I think people would be more interested to watch those games, and I think it should not be every NBA. It should be like the best on best from the leagues. Maybe it's eight from the NBA, 8 from the European League or something for the tournament, whatever it is. But I think of things like that. Think of things where they can get those teams involved with the regular NBA teams in different manners. Maybe it's All-Star Week. Maybe they do a mini thing and that there's no All-Star game, or maybe that's the All-Star game is NBA All-Stars versus the European All-Stars and like stuff like that. Like, I think that it makes a lot of sense to do this for both sides if the NBA has a structure that works to do so. Now, the move to do it now also comes at the same time where Maverick Carter, everybody knows who Maverick Carter is. LeBron obviously not involved with this at all, but Maverick Carter talking about starting his own league as well. And obviously that's a guy who has serious investor connections. So I feel like the NBA probably knows that there's other stuff, ideas of different basketball leagues in the works and wants to get their hands on this. So we'll see. We'll see how it moves forward. It's a lot of politics they got to deal with overseas, though, to get this done.
That's what I was going to ask. I was almost wondering if this Silver was just putting that out there to maybe...
It's a public pressure campaign now. Now it's like full on like, oh, we really, it's like, it's imperialism is what it is. Like, let's call it what it is.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure the Maverick Carter stuff like that had to have scared Silver a little bit, because I remember, I forget who Bill Simmons was talking about it with. It might have been Russillo, but they were saying like some of these guys, especially Luka, who just got traded, like they don't have like this like crazy allegiance to the NBA where they, they're so loyal to this one league. Like if a Euro League came around and offered them like live golf money to some of these European players, like who's to say that they wouldn't just be like, okay, I'm going to take this. Like they don't have like all this crazy honor of playing in the NBA or the super loyalty, which I think used to come with playing in the NBA. And I think some people definitely still have that. But I think there's enough European players that wouldn't and maybe would jump for this money. So I think Silver's maybe just announcing this partially. I think he wants the growth of the league and the NBA to have their hands on this and maybe do a little more for the European players. But I also think he's maybe putting it out there to be like, hey, we're doing this too. But who knows? I mean, lots of change. And speaking of change in the NBA and Adam Silver, he also admitted today that the All-Star changes were a miss on his part. And he said sitting there watching, he thought it was going well. But he heard the criticism. He heard the noise from media and fans alike. And it was a miss. I'm glad we can sit here in March and at least admit that from the commissioner of the NBA. And we can hear him admit that. It's a small win for the people who absolutely hated the All-Star game this year.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Thanks. No.
So,
all right. I mean, that was. I'm glad to hear that. So we'll see what the differences is for next year. Just go back to the regular game, man. Just and put them in there. Put them in home and away jerseys.
Yeah, please.
Put them in the. Here's the thing: what you could do. Put them in the jerseys for the All-Star game and put them in whatever dumb All-Star jerseys you want to make for All-Star Saturday night. Just flip-flop it. That's all I ask. We'd rather see the aesthetic for the game. Give us your jerseys that people will buy people will buy the All-Star jerseys still. Basketball fans. Basketball fans are just obsessed with jerseys. They don't care if you release an All-Star jersey that they don't wear, people will buy it. Like it doesn't matter. So
I was literally just gonna say that if it was like mandatory that they wear it like for the weekend, just like around the arena, but when they play, they don't.
Like, people would still be buying it.
Oh my god,
that's the one aesthetic change I would like.
All right, we ready to get into the thick of it here, Jake?
I'm ready.
The story that's taken.
I feel like I've been ready for this my whole life, actually. Like my whole life is built up to this moment.
Oh man. All right. So if you live under a rock, LeBron and Stephen A. Smith have been going at it for about 2 weeks now. But it started with Stephen A. talking about Bronny, and then LeBron confronting Stephen A. at a Lakers Knicks game, I believe, and just kind of walked up to him mid timeout. They had their little scuffle on the court, whatever you want to call it. They exchanged words. Both talked publicly about it. It was kind of quiet, simmered down for a bit. Then yesterday, before LeBron James and the Lakers played the Indiana Pacers in Indiana, LeBron was a in-person guest on the Pat McAfee show, and he let it all fly. And it wasn't just about Stephen A. That's mostly what we're going to be talking about here, but he talked about everything. He called Brian Windhorst a weird guy. He talked about, the books and people saying that he doesn't actually read the books that he's always seeing on the first page of. He answered a lot. So, credit to LeBron for being transparent. I also think he was a bit negative on most things here. But then Stephen A. got brought up, and he opened it all back up. And then we had Stephen A. responding on his podcast and then responding on national television today. I'm sure you guys saw most of this, but Jake, thoughts where we're at right now? I kind of know where you're at. I'm sharing a similar feeling, but let the listeners have it.
Where we're sitting right now at 6:21 Central Time on Thursday, March 27th.
Yep.
After I was at work, thankfully, in the office, wasn't able to be at home scrolling Twitter or the ability to turn on a TV while this madness was going on. So thankfully, the universe worked in this way. But yeah, the fact that Stephen A. just first take to this whole thing has been ridiculous to me in general. I said it. We talked about it on Trainwreck tonight on Monday as well, and I said the LeBron, he owned. LeBron never gives anybody the light of day. He never responds to anybody. So the fact that he is even this bothered to bring up Stephen A. shows that it's one of two things. He really pissed him off about Bronny, or Bron just does not give a fuck anymore. Mm-hmm. He finally doesn't give a fuck, which should be scary for the NBA media if LeBron truly does not care. I think that's what it is. I think Stephen A. knows that at this point, and the original incident was LeBron's because here's the thing, guys. LeBron is the most strategic media empire in all of sports. LeBron, Clutch, all of it. Everything they do is calculated. It has reason. It has meaning. It is very, very LeBron. This is why people call him disingenuous, fake, a liar, all these things. It's true because they're portraying certain things in certain ways a lot of times. Now, I saw people being oh, LeBron's all these different people when he's talking to all these different people. That's everybody in life. When people go into different rooms, they talk to people different ways. So that just shows me you're sitting inside on your ass all day and not touching grass enough if you're making comments like that. That's what happens when you go meet different people in different worlds. You assimilate and try to figure out how to communicate with them. So whatever, that's one thing. Nothing to go about that. But LeBron in that interview, first of all, the fact that he's on McAfee is a calculated move in and of itself. Look at we don't have to go through the lore of McAfee, Stephen A. But there's lore between those two as it is. They're planning this ahead. So, but LeBron, the original incident, going back to that, he's doing that, and it's a shot across the bow to NBA media. Don't test me, bro. Do not do this. And he goes after Stephen A. What day does he go after Stephen A, man? It's the day Stephen A gets 100 M's. The day that the report comes out, that it comes out. So LeBron knows, Stephen A is getting all this attention, and he's been making all this money off. He's made 100 M's, and all he's been doing for the last year has been talking about my son and me on TV in the A block every single day. And now he got 100 M's off of that. And he's going to go on there and talk crazy about me. And he's going to talk crazy about Bronny. And then he's going to show up courtside and watch me play basketball. So I think LeBron and Clutch in that moment were just like, all right, it's time. Like it's all hands. It's DEFCON. What's the way that DEFCON goes? I never remember which way DEFCON goes. This is one of my dumbest things. Whatever the worst DEFCON is that's what it is with LeBron anymore now. They don't care. Clutch doesn't care. LeBron doesn't care. He went on Pat McAfee. DEFCON 1. Thank you. It's DEFCON 1. LeBron does not care anymore. And so Stephen A coming out today strong like he was. Oh, LeBron, I've been doing this. That was the crate, bro. I read that quote so many times today, Dunny. You don't even know. You came in here 2003. I'll be here after you're gone too. This man thinks he's going to be more relevant than LeBron James.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was.
Does he think he's more relevant than Michael Jordan right now? Because Michael Jordan's retired and out of the public eye. Does Stephen A, do you think, legitimately, that he thinks he's more relevant than Michael Jordan? Because that's what he's saying about LeBron.
He probably
basically
does think that.
He's not. It's Michael Jordan and it's LeBron James. Yeah. What are we talking? So the ego on Stephen A at this point, it's gone. He's jumped off the deep end. Our worst fears for Stephen A, the last couple of years, Stephen A, we know he's out of this. We know he's a character, right? We know he's a cartoon character. We know he's going on here being bombastic, but we all kind of thought it was part of the act now, right? We all kind of thought Stephen A's smart. That's why on the podcast, he sounds smart. All this stuff. He's in on the joke with us. And that's why I feel like
talking about running for president.
That's what he's lost his mind, Dunny. Yes. He's lost his mind.
Well, I guess
he's running for president. He's running for president, saying he's going to punch LeBron James. He said he would on national TV that he would swing on LeBron James.
Yeah, so that's the part that I wanted to bring up because
who does
LeBron talked about the altercation, whatever you want to call it, that happened on the court on the McAfee show. And then Stephen A's response, I believe, was on his podcast.
Saying, last night, yeah.
Yeah, saying that if LeBron were to put his hands on me, I would have swung immediately. And then the internet ran with that, and everyone was bashing Stephen A, calling him a cornball, fucking loser, whatever. He heard all of it. I'm sure he did, and deservingly so. And then he tried to backtrack and be like, well, you guys didn't listen to the whole quote. I said I would have got my ass whooped. It's like, dude, it doesn't matter. You sound like the guy who was on the outskirts of a bar fight, who did absolutely nothing, and then you wake up with your buddies the next morning, and you're like, that guy's lucky I didn't kick his ass. It's like, dude, you sound like an idiot, Stephen A. And then he tried to double down in the dumbness today on First Take, and for some reason,
triple, quadruple down.
Yeah, however many times this guy doubled down. He tried to go at LeBron with the lowest blow and say that he wasn't in attendance for Kobe's memorial service, and he was fucking there.
He was. He wasn't sitting on the floor.
Backtrack that.
Yeah. And then we got Perk going on today saying that LeBron's racist because he's doing podcasts with JJ Redick and Steve Nash and not, what are we doing here?
I saw that. I was going to bring up that too. He's like, why isn't he doing it with Richard Jefferson or Channing Frye? It's like, maybe because
they have a podcast.
Yeah, because Redick had his own podcast and breaks down the intelligence of basketball and all the X's and O's and all the shit that LeBron cares about. And the other guy was the MVP and one of the fucking best point guards ever. Maybe that's why, Perk. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to the guys who work for ESPN.
Also, Steve Nash lives in LA. Lives in California. Probably works out. Probably is at the Lakers facility all the time, doing stuff, consulting. Played for the Lakers. I'm sure LeBron has deep roots with Steve Nash and has known him further than I need a white guy to talk basketball on this podcast.
It's so just I literally I obviously
and bro, and it's opening
in the
day.
Racism race, but
I got
secondhand embarrassment for that.
My point is not about what they're even talking about. My point is opening day. It's the Sweet 16. These are two of the tentpole sporting events, and you could say a hater of LeBron would say LeBron made it about himself and did this by doing the interview and taking the news cycle over on this day. Sure. But LeBron also just went on Pat McAfee the day that the NBA schedule allowed him to be in Indianapolis. So like that, like the Lakers play in Indianapolis one dime a year. You want to know what my deep state conspiracy is? You want me to go this far? Let me turn it all the way to 11.
Yep.
The day that Stephen A got paid 100 M's is the day LeBron James confronted.
Yep.
So was this just a whole, or is it like my wrestling brain turns on, and are Stephen A and LeBron actually like in cahoots here? And LeBron, like, because that's the thing, it's like the ESPN angle of this is very interesting, because I wouldn't say that people think ESPN hates LeBron. ESPN's been a staunch supporter of LeBron. ESPN has upheld the LeBron legacy in some people's minds for a long time. That's the hate shade we've heard from them, right? So what if it's just this whole, what if we're in just this whole wrestling like work area of these guys like creating all this attention around Bronny, around LeBron, around Stephen A, and it's all there, and there's, I don't know what the end goal is, but the timing and the fact that LeBron then had this conveniently timed game in Indianapolis to go on the Pat McAfee show, that was conveniently the day before the Sweet 16 and opening day, that was also conveniently what was the other thing I was going to say? There's also the day before the Sweet 16. Sweet 16, mind you, is not on ESPN properties, is it? It's on CBS. No. It's on Turner, True TV. Not on ESPN. Opening day, some ESPN, but didn't. Oh wait, ESPN just dropped MLB. They don't care about baseball anymore. I'm just saying, deep state conspiracy is that this was all to get attention back on Bronny, because Bronny's actually playing well now, because Bronny looks good. And so now Stephen A was like, I'll take this hit for 100 M's, work with LeBron on this, and to hype and get Bronny some of the credit back for all the shit that you gave him before. Because Bronny put up 40. Bronny's cooking. Also conveniently timed that Bronny is like, getting all these shots and putting up these numbers and getting these numbers in the NBA game. Nobody plays. He puts up 17. It's just, I'm just saying, everything is all the timing works out very well in my mind. And the turn is that Stephen A, because if Stephen A is actually just making this evil turn, he's just becoming Skip. And do we really think that's what he's doing? Do we really think that's what he's doing? So anyways, that's my deep state conspiracy of all this, is that LeBron and Stephen A just have us in the palm of their hands, and we're just eating it like slop out of it.
Yeah. Honestly, bro, it's crazy. The Skip thing's funny too, because people were posting the old Skip Bayless when he showed up on set with the LeBron Cavs jersey, headband, and a brick in his hand, and said he was LeBron James. He was pretending to shoot the brick, and it's like LeBron didn't react to this, and like somehow Stephen A got him to react. So he must really hate Stephen A, or like you said, it's a conspiracy, and I believed crazier things. So I don't think we can rule that out. The only thing I would say to that is like the mistakes that Stephen A has been making, like just like the one we already talked about, like him saying that LeBron wasn't at the memorial service. I think if it was a works, like he wouldn't have slipped up with stuff like that. But otherwise, I think it's pretty on par. The other crazy thing is like all this is happening, and the only coverage that the Lakers are getting now on ESPN is this LeBron and Stephen A dispute, when Luka Doncic is still on this fucking team, and in his last 10 games he's averaging 31.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, 8 assists, 1.5 steals, and he's shooting fucking 45% from 3. Like, I know we maybe over exhausted ourselves with the Luka coverage when the trade first happened, but let's chill with the LeBron, Bronny, Stephen A stuff. And if you're not going to talk about baseball, if you're not going to talk about the college basketball tournament, like let's just talk about NBA shit that's fucking relevant and
Yeah,
not
can we talk about basketball? That would be
yeah,
fun.
or just but yeah, can we talk about sports and not podcasts and fucking the McAfee show and Stephen A and LeBron boxing? Like it's just corny at a certain point. It's like this used to be the pearly gates of
The
sports
worldwide
coverage.
leader, man.
Yeah, and this is where we're at. It's like embarrassing on some levels. It's corny. It's cringy. It's weird, man. And that's all to say. Like there's still some good shit that ESPN does, but I mean, I think it's time they
It
look
just
themselves in the mirror. Like all the people they fired and laid off going into this NBA season too, and just like the people they're giving $100 million to, and where we're at with the shows, and fucking Kendrick Perkins doing halftime shows. Like it's just all bad, man. It's not great right now.
yeah. And it's all sizing up for the inside the NBA guys to slide onto the network next year. That'll only make it better, I'm sure.
Yeah,
That'll help all the
this
tensions.
this should go perfect.
Did you see today that all ESPN TV shows are moving back to Bristol except for the NBA shows?
Really?
It's just an interesting,
interesting.
tidbit. And it is interesting because they bought NFL media, ESPN, recently. And so they'll own like Good Morning Football, and obviously Red Zone's going to be on there and stuff like that. And all their offices are in LA too. So I wonder if the NBA and NFL are just going to be like posted in LA, kind of, and then they're going to put everything else in Bristol. I don't know. But strange times in the sporting world, because I do think that the reason we get a lot of this talk today is because they don't have the Sweet 16 on their TV program, so they don't want to boost it up too much. And it's a shame because like, if you're ESPN, you should be talking about all sports. Doesn't matter.
And like kind of what I brought up at the beginning of the show, like there's a lot of NBA prospects, one in college basketball this year, two still left in the tournament.
How is Cooper Flag not the A story going into First Take today? How is it not Duke, Arizona? How is the first thing not coming up? Sweet 16, Cooper Flag takes on Caleb Love. That should have been A1. Instead, it's fucking Stephen A. and his butthurt feelings, calling LeBron butthurt, which was hilarious. Honestly, the funniest part is that the very beginning of the video, the 15 minutes clip that they posted, and I think that's how long it lasted. Poor Molly. Just the look on her face as it's like about to start. She looked like she's like, I want no part. Like she looked like she wanted no part of that. She was like, this is the dumbest thing. Dude? Oh, they all had to. Honestly, the last couple of weeks have to have been hell for all those behind the scenes people.
Yeah, so it's weird because it's like it must be like nauseating, but at the same time, like probably easy by the time like you're at Thursday, because you're like, oh, it's the same fucking thing again.
Yeah.
Like I'll just take my notes from yesterday.
It's just the Stephen A show. He's on his full ego trip of running for president and saying that he's more important than LeBron James. So that's where we're at this point. It's nuts. Like he literally has gone off. He's gone off the rails.
It's funny too because
he's gonna run for president.
Yeah, no.
Like,
I can't even believe that. It's true though. It's true. And it's just so weird. It's funny too because I know both of us like almost religiously listen to the Russillo Bill Simmons episodes of the Bill Simmons podcast. And those guys like used to take like very subtle jabs at ESPN, and now they don't even have to because they can literally just mention the network, and it's like, oh, like no, yeah, these guys moved on from us, and this is their product now.
Yeah, no free ads, but that'll be there will be some clips, I'm sure, from this week's pod after the week's events from LeBron and Stephen A. I can only imagine. I would only imagine some of the weekend podcast discussions we're gonna get. It's not the last. The last note I have on this, because this is not the last of this. There's no way this tomorrow Stephen A is gonna have something else. Maybe LeBron's done. LeBron post, but that Instagram post makes me feel like LeBron's ready. That's why like LeBron never has responded. And now he's like asking for the smoke. Why is he doing that?
Can I ask you something about this? And it's tough because you can't even ask it because it is LeBron. And me posing this question, like I think he's earned the right to respond to this. I think the McAfee shit was a little much, just like in totality, like
Which
not even the
part?
Stephen A.
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
I just yeah, I
Um,
just
Here's
but
the thing. I
I
think
want to
people are
preface it by saying
mostly.
like
Go
it's
ahead. Go. Sorry.
LeBron and he's carried this league that we love for the last 20 years basically on his own. I think he's earned the right to talk about it because you're right. He's kind of been an angel with the media up until this point. But where are you? I know you're a LeBron guy, you're a Cavs fan, obviously, but LeBron guy through and through. Like, do you think any of this from his point of view, especially just where we are in the NBA season? Like, do you think any of his teammates or fans of Lakers, it would be fair for them to be like, can we just cool it, man, and like fucking worry about the season right now?
Well, yes, Lakers fans could definitely be saying that right now, and they would be 100% warranted. LeBron's a guy who in Miami took a 2 week or in Cleveland took a 2 week vacation to Miami. Like, you deal with bullshit when you're with have LeBron on your team. Cavs
Yes.
fans have dealt with it. Heat fans have dealt with it. Lakers fans have dealt with it. So in that regard, yeah, I'm sure there are Laker fans upset with LeBron, but that's just kind of par for the course. Like, he does things that's going to piss you off, but he also is going to make you one of the best teams in the NBA every year. So that's just the trade-off. The McAfee show in general, I didn't love it either. I'm not gonna lie. Here's the thing with the Windy comment.
You
Let
think
me
Wendy
address
cried a little
Windy.
bit, dude?
Windy's definitely hurt. Windy did not want to
That
be on
was
first take. They
that
haven't
felt
having him on
mean,
first
bro.
take felt mean. Having
That
him on
felt
first
mean,
take felt
dude.
mean. He didn't want to be there talking about that today. He didn't want to deal with that. But the Windy thing, it doesn't bother me as much because we don't know how much Windy has tried to pry into LeBron's life too. Like, here's the
Oh,
thing: is Windy
yes,
has
you're
covered
right.
LeBron James since he was 16 years old. So you're telling me, even if he has done the best job as any reporter covering LeBron James, he could be respectful and he's covered him fairly and clearly has a great relationship with Rich Paul to get information about LeBron, right? Like, they clearly have a working relationship, whether that's but it's not directly with LeBron, it's with Clutch and whoever the intermediaries are. Probably Rich Paul as much as anything else, because Rich Paul was a guy that dealt with Windy throughout all this time. LeBron's growing up as well. But you don't think that LeBron, a guy who clearly has no love for the media ever, has never had love for the media, has never had love for how the media has portrayed him, has never wanted to deal with it, like we said, has never engaged in any of this stuff, has never gone to this length to make fun of somebody like he did Wendy or call out Stephen A like this. So he's never done this before. How many times do you think Windy has pried too far that it's really pissed off LeBron trying to cover him? Think of all the shit LeBron's been involved with. Think of all the stuff
Yeah,
we
I mean
don't know that LeBron's been involved with, that Windy knows LeBron's been involved with.
it's
And
two
Windy is
decades, bro. So
he's a great
probably
journalist. So
a
he's
lot.
asked them the tough questions. He's
Yeah.
asked them questions that they don't want to answer and that they haven't answered. That him asking if LeBron caught wind of probably pissed him off to a point that he don't want to deal with Windy. And I bet you that LeBron's representation is smart and told him, we need Windy on our side. Windy is a guy who grew up with us. He will defend you in the long run. He's going to press us, but he's going to be fair. We need him. And LeBron probably begrudgingly accepts that advice because he knows that it's a powerful ally to have. It doesn't mean LeBron likes him, though. And he doesn't have to if Windy's pried into his life. So him saying something's weird, maybe Windy's asked some weird things. Maybe Windy's done some weird shit that's pissed LeBron off. Like, you don't know how these guys, being famous sucks, guys. Being famous is not a normal life. So when there's a guy who's literally getting paid 6 figures, maybe 7 figures, and his job has literally been to cover your every move, you might feel some type of way about that guy. Like, I'm just saying. Like, and I'm not saying that's fair or not, but imagine, Dunny, if there was a reporter following you for making a living off of your life, and what you do, and making a living off criticizing you or praising you, whatever they felt like was fair to them and their morals and everything. That's a crazy thing to have to rationalize with if you don't want to care about it. So that's my defense of LeBron with the Windy thing. In general, though, he wanted to take shots and he definitely took it too far. I think the tone was very the tone was very like, listen, y'all, like, I'm LeBron. Like it's exactly what you expect from LeBron, honestly. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't surprised by it. He doesn't go on there unless he's trying to make a statement, and he wanted to make a statement, and he did. Do I think it was the most respectful thing? No, but like we said, LeBron has kept his cool a lot about a
Yeah,
lot
he's
of
earned
things.
that.
So I think he deserved to
Even
let
it,
it off a little bit.
even if he hadn't kept his cool over the 20-year career, like he's LeBron fucking James. He's still earned that, whether you like it or
And he's
not.
on Pat McAfee. Pat's not going to push him. Pat's just
No.
going to let LeBron do whatever the fuck he wants for an
Yeah,
hour.
it's LeBron James,
And
dude. That's the best guest he'll get in the next fucking 3
and he
years,
said it. He
bro.
literally said, like, this is the greatest guest we've ever had and might ever have. Like,
Yeah.
he gave LeBron that respect and deference. And that's what you give LeBron. How many interviews has LeBron done?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
like
not
when
many.
LeBron does the
Open
like, he
invite
did
to
Mind
come
the
on Happy
Game.
Hour Hoops.
He always, yeah, open invite. And that's the thing, like the mind the Game was kind of his way to get some shit off last year.
Yeah.
Like he did, you know, stir some conversation of him and JJ on that show. And maybe it's gonna happen again too, whatever they filmed or are filming right now. But I don't know, man. It's always calculated, and I think he wanted to ruffle feathers. And so if it ruffled your feathers, it's probably what the intention was.
I think so too. I think it's a really good point about the Wendy thing too. Like it probably is super weird from him. I think outside looking in and not even being Wendy, I just think knowing the Wendy Braun relationship or thinking what we know about the Wendy Braun relationship, it's tough because Wendy's a guy who has basically like jumped through hoops to put LeBron on a pedestal since
Mm-hmm.
day one. Like he doesn't really ever say bad things about LeBron. So I
But
think
you
that's
have
why.
to think, man, it only benefits Wendy if LeBron is on that pedestal too, though, because then he's
Yes.
the guy who
No.
covered the greatest player of all time. Like, I'm not saying you to this
100%.
to you. I'm just saying, like,
100%.
Wendy is the beneficiary of the LeBron relationship. Not LeBron is not the
100%.
beneficiary of Wendy's coverage of him. That's my point.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
I just think that's why people may have taken it the wrong way.
Yeah, for
I
sure,
thought
for
it was
sure.
a little mean, like that one specific line where he called him weird. And
He
just because
he
I
just
know
couldn't
that
contain
killed
himself,
Wendy.
bro. But you know,
Yes.
it was one of the things where Braun was, you know, he wanted to say, like I was saying as I'm listening to it, I'm like, imagine imagine this conversation is like he's had all these conversations with Wine and with his boys. Like, so
Yeah.
that was like him like trying to hold in what he really wanted.
Oh, he's
to
definitely
say
called
about
Wendy way worse behind closed doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely some jabs about
weird,
the weight in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we can live with weird.
Yeah. No, for sure. I thought it was I don't know. I guess it was a little bit of more fuck you attitude, just the whole thing from LeBron that I was expecting, and I think it's just because maybe we don't expect it, and that's why I was surprised by it. Obviously, I think he has every right to say everything he said. I do think if I was a Lakers fan, I would be a little like, all right, dude, like let's lock in. But again,
especially when you're like 3-7 and he's not really playing, and yeah, but.
well, that and I checked the standings when I first asked you that, and like they have a legit chance to take the 3 seed here. Probably not the 2 seed, but they could. They're 2.5 back from the 2 seed, a game back from the 3 seed, and I don't know. Maybe they're just cool with whoever they're playing right now. But I guess if
They
made
definitely
that
want LeBron healthy, but who knows if his groin thing is real or if it's just like LeBron wants some rest before the playoffs type deal too. So he might not care who they play. To be honest,
I guess it's tough because you can't even like try to decide who you're going to play right now just because from 2 to 8 it's just a fucking shit show.
It's a war
because
zone.
if they tried to play the Clippers and get that 3 seed, the Clippers are 6 right now. Oh well, they're tied for the Warriors for 7.
Yeah.
So I guess that part of it may be out the window, but crazy week, man. Like you said, I'm sure we're going to get.
It's not over either,
more.
guys. And the long-term effects, I think, of this are more interesting to me than what's happening right now. Because what does this mean for Stephen A going forward? AKA Stephen A's off the rails, and what else is he going to do as we get into the playoffs when more attention is going to be on Stephen A every day, looking for reactions to playoff basketball? And B, what does it mean for LeBron? Because is LeBron going to be on Mind the Game, just drinking wine, firing off shots with Steve Nash, and maybe him and Steve Nash, maybe that's his like gossip buddy. You know, everybody's got a gossip buddy. Maybe it's Steve. Maybe he calls Steve to just talk shit, and he's like, "All right, Steve, you got any gripes about the modern basketball?"
I also think it's like a cool choice for a podcast because, like, as far as I can tell, like he wasn't a super reserved guy, but like people haven't heard much from Nash. There's just much less media when he played in general. And this is a guy who's played with a lot of great players. He's been a part of championship runs. He's been an MVP. So I don't know. Like I think it's an interesting guess. Like why not? Why not Steve Nash? I don't really understand what Perk was trying to do there, but I don't know. That's
Perk just being Perk. Perk's just being
yeah,
Perk, man. He's just trying to start shit wherever he found one little angle he could try to make about himself, and went for it. Good for
yeah.
him.
He claimed that he also had a Jordan deal lined up, a Jordan brand deal lined up, and
Oh,
then he said LeBron was the GOAT, and Jordan took that away from him.
oh
So,
man, damn.
but
I hope the one thing LeBron was telling the truth about is that Michael doesn't want to talk to him until they're done playing. And then when LeBron retires, him and Michael go somewhere, some like Turks and Caicos, like in the like just or their own island somewhere, one of their islands that they own, and they just talk shit about everybody and drink wine and smoke cigars together. Like those two deserve that at this point. Because Michael's got to be watching this shit,
did
just
you see what Jordan said?
laughing. Oh, he commented on this?
I think unless I got sent out, but I'm pretty sure I saw it. I didn't see it on Central or Central. I think I saw it elsewhere. I believe he said, "I don't even talk to my own kids, so that's why him and Braun don't talk." It's like the
That's
most
awesome.
MJ response ever.
That is
So,
awesome. Oh, I thought you were gonna say he said something about Stephen A. I was like, Mike
oh
wasn't something
no,
about Stephen A.
he commented on LeBron and Jordan not talking much, and
Okay,
he was just like, "I don't even
okay,
talk to my own kids, bro."
okay. So that
But
makes sense. I was gonna say Mike was laughing at Mike was like Stephen A. Bro, this is
oh yeah, he
hilarious.
probably
Like
couldn't
this
even
is
be bothered,
awesome.
bro. I mean, he also probably doesn't have much to say because Stephen A. In the midst of all this just keeps saying how Jordan's his goat. So
Yeah,
he's like,
Jordan's the
"Yep,
goat.
that's
That's
right."
true. That's the one thing we didn't. The last thing before we go here, the funniest thing is that that he thinks LeBron is mad. Stephen A. thinks LeBron's mad at him because he doesn't think he's the GOAT. That's
Dude,
what this
he's
comes
never
down to.
once cared about the goat conversation.
He's never welcomed it. He's never been said like I want to be better than Michael. Never anything. But LeBron's mad at you, Stephen A. because
Yeah.
you think Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's just great too that the Lakers play tonight and tomorrow night. Or no, sorry, they play tonight and Saturday
And
night.
Saturday.
So
Yep.
right, I'm sure I would be surprised if Lakers Grizzlies wasn't an ESPN game too. It probably
I'm
is.
sure it is.
But either way, like there's just more coverage to talk about. So LeBron's going to be in the circle, like you said. This isn't done. But yeah, just crazy, man. ESPN, what are you doing? It's going to be more bullshit. Hopefully you guys enjoyed LeBron's buzzer beater last night because that was cool. Tap in for the win. Great game with Indiana. I still think I'll say it. I think I said it a couple weeks ago. I think Indiana's a underrated team in the East. Let's not forget they made the conference finals last year, and they have Benedict Mathurin this time around. So
It's true.
just a weird little Pacers blurb for you guys to end the pod. But I think
Yeah.
that'll do it. Go enjoy your March Madness, folks. BYU, Bama is like halfway through the first half right now. A lot of great
I didn't
games
realize
tonight.
the Lakers are in Chicago here. Tickets are 100. Their lowest tickets $160. They've been like $200 all week. I've been checking. I forgot it was tonight. Thought it was tomorrow. This has been a
Crazy.
week, Dunny. I
Yeah.
thought yesterday was Thursday. Thought today was Friday. Tomorrow I better remember to work tomorrow.
A few times tonight I did think today was Friday and I got bummed out. But yeah, that's the show, guys. Go enjoy the college hoops. Go enjoy LeBron playing a couple games this weekend, tonight and Saturday. And go follow everything Trainwreck Sports. Follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1 on all socials. Thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next week. Later.
Yep.